back at it again with some Pro League madness. We're going to look at a pretty sick game today from an interesting opening trap that Grandmaster Akobian was playing black. And I've got a couple videos that you guys can check out where I was playing against Akobian and time odd splits. Now, let's go ahead and jump right in. I've been looking at a particular move order with this type stuff, and GM Meyer plays this quite a lot, and Meyer's exceptional with it. He doesn't quite play it this way. Normally he'll castle and play D3, but this has been recommended in a few different books that when the bishop's on G4, you can go knight E5, and normally, like if you're playing this position with black, in my opinion the best way to play is to go bishop E6, and after takes it's C5, and black has full equality. There's just like no problems. And I quit playing this stuff for white because I was like, well, if black can just do this, this isn't fun at all. I just wasted tempi with a knight, traded things, and gave him easy development. I don't like it. But you can go nastier, like what happened in this game. So after bishop F5, you grab. Of course, they're going to take back with a pawn. Knight C3, E6, and now everything in this trap is based off the fact that the bishop is cut off to come back to D7. And the theme follows with ideas like G4, because if bishop G6, H4. And this is one line, and you can tell that these positions are just kind of weird. White has the bishop pair, but the pawn structure is symmetrical. I don't know what's going on here. So in the main game, we got queen a4 check, and the idea is that after knight bd7, you have g4. And when I saw that Akobian went into this, I was like, clearly he had to have something prepared for black. He plays bishop c2, and then knight takes f7. So it just gets bananas real quick. So for instance, if bishop takes a4, knight takes d8, we just get this position, and white's clearly better in my opinion because his pawn structure is good, the bishop pair is awesome. So king takes f7 happened, queen takes c2, and knight takes g4. And then he hits him with another shot, and like I had to check this with the engine, and I just briefly checked it before you guys walked in. Knight takes d5. Now if e takes d5, bishop takes d5, and say king e8, queen e4, knight e5, d4, like bishop takes b7 in between to go back, and then you finally grab the piece, and white's winning here. So in the game, after knight takes d5, queen h4 was played, and then it gets silly. Queen c7, queen takes f2, king d1, king e8, and bishop f3. Now the engine evaluated this position as equal. White maintains his advantage after knight f4. Queen b6, takes, rook g1. So bishop f3, and keep in mind this was played in the Pro League, 15 minutes per player. So this is just like nobody has time to calculate this type of stuff. I don't care how good you are. Knight g e5, queen b7, rook b8, knight c7, and right here black would be better if king f7 after queen e4, rook b4, and you got to play a move like queen a8 just to have a safe square for your queen. Like, these positions are just ridiculous resulting from this. So this gets to the question for the class: when would you elect to play an opening like this on either side of the board? Yeah. In a blitz tournament, yeah, like rapid time controls like this. If you really knew your stuff, this would be something to play against somebody really high rated, because you could surprise them. And yeah, if you're playing with the engine behind you and you've memorized all this stuff and you're just like very familiar, yeah, you could be a beast in this type of stuff. But I think also it's a great line to play against lower rated players, because there's no way they can handle these positions. They're gonna do something stupid immediately. There's too many lines, and when there's too many lines, lots of options lead to worse continuations and losses. So king e7 is what happened in the game. Queen e4, queen b6, d4, takes, check in between, King f7. And it started getting away from white in here. Check. Rook f1. And I mean, yeah, he's just like playing fanciful. King g7, bishop g3, and after g takes h5, black is +4 in the position. But it shows you how difficult it is that a player of Akobian's caliber, a top 100 player in the world, mess this position up badly, multiple times. Bishop f4, bishop e7, check. King e1. Here, you should go queen b4 check and knight g6, and black's +11. It's ridiculous. So queen d5, takes, and he's able to get some material back. And he's able to get coordinated. And it's ridiculous because he keeps making counterplay, keeps making practical chances. And right here, all you got to do is play rook f6, and you're okay. Akobian plays knight g6. Gimme. And he probably could have taken the draw there, which would have been the smart decision. But he goes into a dead lost king and pawn endgame. White does. And it's not trivial, but right here it should be. Now, here's a key moment. I'm guessing that both these guys had like a minute left for the past like 15, 20 moves. I didn't look at the chess.com. I got this off of ChessBase online. Right here, here's an important finesse in an endgame. And had Akobian had any time to think whatsoever, he finds the move that wins the game. In the game, he played bishop b4 because logically you're like, okay, this bishop, as long as he's looking at where the pawn's going, I got this. But the best play was actually bishop c3 to force the pawn up and then come here because the king's got to use extra steps. Because the bishop is not only controlling the diagonal of this pawn, but also that pawn. So this is an easy win, because after king f7, your pawn is going to queen long before he can do anything, because he's going to have to sack the e7 pawn, and then the h pawn runs. Your pawn will already have queened by then. So he played bishop b4 after king g6, b5, and it's gotten away from him at this point. And now you think this is a draw. Most of the time it is, but I want you to see white's technique is just beastly here. The only way you can make progress is to get in situations to where you can use the other king as a shield from the opposing queen's checks. So watch how he does this. So notice how this king, even though it's cutting off key squares, it's also cutting off squares from that check. So now I got one pawn push. And he's going to dance the dance a little bit, probably mostly to get a little bit of time, and see how he's using his king to body check to make sure he's not going to be checked by the black queen. That's the technique. And he repeated moves in order to get time. You got a 2-second increment. He's just going to dance right over there. And then finally, now he can move the king away. There it is. It takes good technique to win that type of queen and pawn in game. 90% of the time it's a draw, but if you know what you're doing, it's a win. And that's why the best players have studied these end games and know them by heart, so they don't need time. You just do. You've just practiced it so much, it's second nature. So I wanted to show you guys that game because as I was going through it, it was just like shot after shot after shot, and it was just like, wow. This looks like a game from the 1800s where the guys are just like wailing on each other with battle axes and stuff. But I thought it was not only a sick game, but then the technique required to win that end game with only seconds on the clock. Very impressive. Very impressive.